Hello guys, welcome back to Mary's Corner. It's Emily here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys all the books that I read in March. So one, I know this video is late. I know. Also, so sorry for the bad lighting and just everything, honestly, but I've been so busy with school. I just got back from spring recess, so at least I got my April TBR out. But this past month, March was such a good reading month for me. I really enjoyed everything, or most of what I read in March. There is one book that I literally read the last day of February, so that will also be on here. But other than that, let's get into the video. I'm so excited to show you guys all the books that I read, but before we do, please subscribe, comment down below, and like this video. All of my social links are down in the description box below, as well as my Amazon wish list if you would like to give me a book. Now let's get on into the video. So the one book that I read literally on the last day of February was Homebody by Ruby Kaur. If you know me, I actually really love Ruby Kaur. I love poetry. I just love the way she writes. For a long time, I didn't want to read Milk and Honey by her, which is the most popular, because everybody said it was like the basic white girl poetry book, which I didn't really know what that meant. I was like, okay, so am I not supposed to be reading this right now? Like, what's the vibe? I read it. Honestly, Milk and Honey was my least favorite out of the three that she's published. This one is one of my favorites. She's published Milk and Honey, The Sun and Her Flowers, and now Homebody, but I kind of feel like Milk and Honey and The Sun and Her Flowers are a duology. They're not at all, but like in my head I categorize them as such because they deal with a lot of the same topics. My favorite was The Sun and Her Flowers. It was a little bit more tame. Milk and Honey is very blunt. And that's another thing that I love about Ruby Kaur. She's very blunt with her words. This one I feel like is very mature. Basically, it's about after feeling disconnected for so long. I'll actually read the back. My mind and body are finally coming back to each other. And I feel like what separated this from her first two novels is that it felt so hopeful in a sense. Like it felt like it was kind of written after she's gone through everything. Because in the book, she still talks about heartbreak and feminism and being an immigrant and sexual assault, which is a big thing in her novels or in her poetry. But it felt hopeful in a sense, like she's already come out of it and she's writing it after she's gone through it and realizing that there's another side. And that's kind of what makes this book different than her other two, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Ruby Kaur just never misses, and I'm so genuinely excited to see like what other works that she puts out. Also, if you've seen the special editions for all of her books, chef's kiss. I want them so bad. They're so beautiful. Okay, but that was the book that I read in February. I lowered the lighting a little bit because I can't tell what is good and what isn't. So we'll just bear through everything. Okay, the next book that I read was actually a Wattpad book. So February wasn't the best reading month for me, so I just wanted to start it off with a quick and easy Wattpad book called The Professor. The Professor is basically about a girl that's 19. She just got out of high school and she's going to college and trying to get away from her like abusive dad, and she meets this guy at a bar. Like it's sort of like a grill slash bar. She's just sitting at the bar because she's like stressed out, and she meets this guy. He's like 23 years old and they hit it off, and then they live in the same apartment, and then she goes to class and he's her professor. I love this trope. Please, if anybody has a book where like the person's their professor, like let me know. I want it so bad. Other than The Love Hypothesis, even though he's not her professor in The Love Hypothesis, but let me know, please. Like, let me repeat this. Let me know. Aside from that, I enjoyed this book because of the trope. It was just very fun, fast, flirty. I liked whenever they were together, but I feel like they were just placing plot points and a lot of tropes, and there was no meat in between. Like they had of course, the professor trope. They had the same bed trope. They had the living in the same apartment trope. They had the essay at a party trope, which a lot of people are like, what? What do you mean that trope? It is literally a trope where somebody will go to a party, like they get drunk or something and somebody tries to take advantage of them. It's a literal trope. And the thing is, what was annoying me with that trope in specifics was that there was no point for that trope to be in this book. Like, I don't know, it was just like not good. With Wattpad books, it's still technically rated out of 5 star, but like every Wattpad book I ever read, I'm never gonna rate it above a 3 star. So like in my mind, 1 is a bad Wattpad book, 2 is like, okay, whatever Wattpad book, and 3 is like, okay, this is a good Wattpad book. And I gave it a 2 star. Like overall, oh, it also had the ex-girlfriend trope where they're brought in, or the family doesn't like the main character trope. All the tropes in this book. It was just fun. It was just a quick read. I read it all in one night, whatever, but 2 stars. The next book that I read was called Perfectly Parveen. This book was very forgettable to me. I listened to it on audiobook, and it is a YA romance book. YA romance has not been doing it for me recently. Like, the last YA romance that I think I read was Sweet Cute, and that was Chef's Kiss amazing, but like, the last good YA romance was Sweet Cute, and it was just amazing. So I don't know what I expected with this book. Basically, it is about a girl named Parveen. She is an Iranian American woman or teen, and she's just entering freshman year of high school, and basically over the summer she got a boyfriend and they're going to the same high school. On her freshman orientation, he breaks up with her because he realizes, oh, she's kind of weird, like she's not like other girls, whatever. Then there's this sophomore guy, like by homecoming, she's like, I want to get a boyfriend to show him that like I don't need him. So she sees this like freshman guy and like she's trying to go for him, whatever. And she devises this whole entire plan. But then there's this guy that's in her Farsi class that like has a crush on her and like basically like a little love triangle. But then also there's like another guy that's like trying to come after her. Like there was a lot going on in this book. Honestly, like just a lot. Also, she was having trouble with her friends. So much is going on. And one thing I will say is that the diversity in this book was really, really good. Like, aside from her being Iranian American, like just the LGBTQ plus rep was also there in the book. But it was very forgettable. A lot was going on. And honestly, I was just annoyed while reading it. Truly, like the main character, so annoying. Like I don't know if that's just me. I didn't love her. One thing that I absolutely adored in this book, her father's Iranian, her mother is white American, and so of course she looks more like her dad, and she has this one aunt that is like still in Iran, and like she's trying to come to America and all this stuff, and with a visa through the parents and everything. But she like talks to her to like feel like she has a motherly figure. Like she has her mom as her motherly figure, but her mother feels so bad that she can't teach her everything about her culture, about herself, everything in general. She looks towards her aunt, and her aunt's trying to come, and there was like this whole plot twist about like the American system and her trying to come in, and I absolutely love that part. I think that if they focused on that more, like I know it's like a YA romance, but they should have cut out a couple of the love interests, because it was like a love square hexagon. Like it was just too much. It was just way too much for me, and so I gave it 3 stars in the end, but so forgettable, like maybe a 2. The next book that I read was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This I buddy read with a couple of my friends here at college, and we all really enjoyed this book. It's basically about a girl named Poppy and a guy named Alex, and they met in college, and every single summer they went on a vacation, and they absolutely love each other. They're best friends, but one summer they kind of have a falling out, and we don't know why. So 2 summers later, Poppy's like, I hate everything in life, so I kind of want to go on another vacation with Alex, but like we're not talking. They end up going on another vacation. It's nothing like they expected, but it kind of goes back and forth between their past vacations and their current vacation, and like we lead up to the fact of like, why did they have a falling out, what's going on, like why can't they be together, like blah blah blah, because clearly it's an adult romance book. I enjoyed this. Emily Henry is the author that wrote Beach Read, and I loved Beach Read more. I gave this book a 4 stars, and I gave Beach Read a 5 out of 5. I loved Beach Read so much, and the thing is, I didn't hate this book. I just didn't think it lived up to Emily Henry's potential. First of all, with going back and forth, I don't hate that. I don't love it either. It really just depends on if an author does it well. And I feel like there was a balance in this book between the two, and I love seeing them grow. But I don't feel like we saw enough of them connecting in the present vacation. And that's just how I feel. That's just my vibe. And I also feel like I wanted a little bit more of a hint of what Alex was feeling in both timelines. Like, we knew that he cared for her deeply. I feel like we saw it more in the past. I wanted to see more of how he cared for her in the current timeline, even though I know he was guarded and everything. Like, I know, but I don't know. I love the ending. I thought it was cute, and I just loved it. The next book I read was Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. Look, I did not realize that this was like a new release. Like I did realize it was a new release, but I just saw it and I was like, I'll buy it. I also didn't know that it was like the sequel or like the companion novel sequel to It Happened One Summer. So I understood the characters that were going on, and I understood why they were important, but I didn't realize that it was the characters, like her sister was a character from It Happened One Summer. This is about a girl named Hannah and a guy named Fox Thornton, and or Thornton. I'm so sorry. What the heck was going on with me? Basically, Hannah is like working for this production company, but like as an assistant, but she wants to work her way up. But they're not really vibing with everything. She's been texting Fox back and forth because that's where her sister lived, and like she met him through her sister and everything. And she's like, okay, this guy's my friend. Fox is like a huge player. Like he just goes around with girls and all this stuff. And she makes the movie producer move their movie to where Fox lives. So now they're living together because the sister can't house her because they're housing the mom of her now fiance or whatever. And a lot of tension happens because friends to lovers. I love their tension. I love them talking together. I love their romance. I thought it was so cute. I loved how protective he was. I love how caring she was and understanding, and she was so patient with him. And also there was a thing where he was a player, but he felt like he had to owe it to a lot of people, and the explanation of why he was just going around dating girls was very refreshing, and I know a lot of other people feel the same exact way. For me, there was something missing. I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I was like wondering what it was. I was like, what is it? And I saw Chandler Ainsley talk about it on her YouTube video, this book, and I was like, that's it. There's a missing friendship piece. Like at the beginning, you see their texts back and forth, but you don't really see the friendship grow. Like I knew that they were comfortable with each other, but where they start when she gets to where Fox is, why are they that comfortable with each other? You know what I mean? Like I just wanted to see a little bit more of a friendship developed and then go on into the romance. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. 4.5. That's a really good rating. The next book I read is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I made a whole entire video about this book, which will be coming out soon, hopefully. So I won't talk about it too much. But basically, this is about a girl named Enchanted, and she really wants to be an R&B artist. She really loves to sing. And so an R&B artist, Corey Fields, spots her at a audition. And he's like, I want you. We're going to go record your label and your record. I don't know why I said label. That's not a thing. Your record. And she's like, yes, sir. Yes, please. She's 17. He's like 30 something. And it ends up that like he starts abusing her, sexually assaulting her. And one day she wakes up with Corey Fields dead and blood everywhere on her. And she's like, what happened? And so it kind of goes back and forth, just like people we meet on vacation, from the past before everything happened to now. I gave this book a 3.5 stars. Briefly, I'm just gonna tell you that I have a lot of feelings. Like I know a lot of people love this book, so people are like 3.5 stars, like that's so low. And like it's just average for me. Another book that I feel like really did this topic really well was Muted by Tammy Charles, which is told in verse, but it has literally the same synopsis. The only difference in this book that I really, really loved is that it kind of talks about the aftermath of her sexual assault before the killing of Corey Fields. I struggled with, should I recommend this book? And by the end, my answer was yes, because the topic of grown men preying on young women is so relevant to today's society. And this is specifically targeted at younger audiences, like specifically to them. And I really want young women to read this. Also, I'm the odd one out when saying I didn't love this book. Like a lot of people love this book. And it is super fast paced, super fun. So watch that video for more of my thoughts. You guys will, I really enjoyed that video. So yeah. The second to last book that I read was Frostbite by Rochelle Mead. This is the second book in the Vampire Academy series. I also made a video on this book because a lot of you guys liked my reading Vampire Academy for the first time. So I thought I'd do it with the second book. I don't know if I'm going to continue the whole series, but I love this book. I really, really, really loved it. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I made a whole video on it and I want you guys to watch it. But basically, if you don't know what Vampire Academy is about, it's basically about Lissa and Rose. And Lissa is a Moroi princess, which means that she's full vampire and she's a part of the vampire different kingdoms. And Rose is a Dhampir. Dhampir is basically like she's half and half. And so she is there to protect Lissa, and they're usually guardians of the vampires. Basically, it's just about their different adventures with Strigoi, which are evil vampires, and all that good stuff. There's romance in here. Really good some, if I might say so myself. But I gave this book a 4 stars. I believe I gave Vampire Academy a 4 stars, and once I read this book, I was like, let's drop it down to 3. Because I love this book. It's so fast-paced, so fun. More thoughts to come in that video. And the last book that I read was Northwood by, I can't say her name. I'm so sorry. But basically, I got this at a used bookstore, and I saw this, and I saw the cover, and I was like, stunning. Opened it up. I was looking in the poetry section. Opened it up. Beautiful. First of all, when I looked online, this said it was a novella, and there are like a lot of stories, but honestly, mostly it's told in poetry and verse. So I was just astounded by this. Basically, it's about this girl, and I'm still trying to figure out if it's based off of the person that wrote it or if this is fiction. Because if this is real, mind freaking blown. It's basically about this girl that is just going through it. Like, she's just not happy with her life, and she meets this married old man, and they start this affair. And basically, she buys a cabin in the wood for cheap, and they have this whole affair over there. And she is obsessed with him. Like, the lines between love and obsession is very, very blurred. He also is very like the line between sexual assault is very blurred too. Like, he very much abuses her, and she is obsessed with him, like kind of Stockholm syndrome-y. But what's crazy is after he leaves her, like, it just goes through their whole relationship, how she feels before a little bit, their whole relationship. Then after he leaves, because he has a whole wife and he can't stay in the cabin forever, after he leaves, and like how they have this phone conversations, like how it's still like a toxic relationship even though he's left, and like he comes back and forth and all of these different things. And then she gets a husband, and how she's still talking to him and like kind of still having an affair, like no matter what. Like, she's just obsessed with this man. It's very blunt, very vulgar. So like, if you want to pick this up, very vulgar, and the topics that she addresses is just crazy. And that's what I'm saying. Like, is this real or is this fake? Because I want to know if it's based off of the author. But okay, so I gave this book a 4 stars. I enjoyed it, but also by the end I was getting annoyed with our main character. Like, why do we care? Like, you're putting yourself in this situation, and like, I know that this is so weird, and honestly just like entertainment, you know what I mean? Like, it's entertaining reading about you. But by the end, it was just frustrating a little bit. Like, and also the end poems, like, I didn't feel like had that same type of passion as the beginning of it. And maybe it's because the character herself was losing that passion. But I gave it a 4 stars. Overall, I don't hear people talking about it, but like, pick it up if this is your kind of vibe. A little bit weird, very vulgar, but good. Okay guys, so these were all the books that I read, and also the couple of online books that I read, and it was a good reading month. It really was. It really was. There were a couple I loved, a couple I hated, but yeah, that's it for this month. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Maybe you pick up some of these for yourself. I love you guys so much. Please subscribe, comment down below, and do whatever you want to do, and goodbye.